Praise to be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most gracious, the most merciful. Ikhwati fillah. We will speak English because we have some people who don't understand Luganda, especially our brothers from Nigeria and also from northern Uganda and other places. We are talking about today striving against the nafs, our souls and desires, and overcoming hardship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, as the Imam recited, ثُمَّ قَسَتْ قُلُوبٌ مِّن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ, and their hearts hardened after that. فَهِيَ كَالْحِجَارَةِ, their hearts are like rocks. So some hearts are harder than rocks, because some rocks, water comes out of them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasizes on our souls. He emphasizes on our hearts mostly. When you look into the Quran, you will understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always talking about our hearts. He says in the Quran, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. A day, لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ. Our wealth and our children will not benefit us. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Except someone who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave qalb, or someone who came to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a soul, with a heart, salim, pure heart, a heart which forgives, a heart which prays to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a heart which abstains from evil and haram, a heart which fights its desires. And we were saying that, as Ibn al-Qayyim said, jihad al-nafs has 4 levels. To fight your nafs and your soul, it has 4 levels. Number 1, striving to learn the guidance and true religion. You cannot fight your desires if you don't know what your desires are, if you don't know what your weaknesses are, if you don't seek knowledge. So number 1 is striving to seek knowledge. Number 2 is striving to act upon it. Number 3 is striving to call others. If you don't call others, you're being called. The best way to defend is to attack. So if you are not calling people to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then remember, there are those who will call you to their ideologies. They will call you to their ways. Number 4, striving to be patient in the face of hardships. Because this path of Islam, this path of da'wah, is always faced by hardships and harm. Even those 4 steps, we should take them. Ibn Taymiyyah says, striving against the self, against our nafs and desires, is the foundation of jihad against everything else. Foundation of jihad, which is striving, struggling, starts from striving against our nafs. Al-jihad shuri'a fi Makkah, jihadun nafs. To strive against our souls, it was in Makkah, في آية سورة العنكبوت and other surahs. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. And those who strive on our way, we will guide them. But al-qital, fighting and striving on the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it came in Medina after strengthening the hearts of the believers. Their hearts were firm. They fought their desires. Now they were ready to give up their souls to fight for Islam. So everything, ikhwati fillah, today we are in the masjid. We are praying. This is Ramadan. We are striving hard. We are here al-qiyam, was-siyam. All this is to come against our nafs. Because our nafs, the way it was created, our nafs, the way it was designed, is fighting against you. It inclines to the evil. It inclines to soft things. So you have to strive to see it, you keep it in check, to see that you keep it in check. Hassan al-Basri says, the believer, al-mu'min, constantly holds himself accountable for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sake. So if we make ourselves accountable in this world, then we will have an easier reckoning on the day of judgment. Sufyan al-Thawri says, Ashaddul jihad, the most difficult jihad is striving against oneself. What do we attain? We attain taqwa. If you strive, it tells you do this haram. It tells you do this and this. So you come back, you strive, you fail sometimes, but you wake up. There's no problem in failing. There is no problem in sinning. Now, sinning is haram. But the problem is, how do you come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So, coming back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's the strength. And when you come back, you sin today, you come back tomorrow. You sin today, you come back tomorrow. While being sincere with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that sin will go away. As long as you go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As long as you strive hard to restrain yourself, to be bold, to be brave, to see that this is haram, I cannot do this. For my deen, I will not do this. For my religion, I will not do this. You purify your heart and say, because of this, I will forgive my brother. Because of this, no, my brother or my sister, she didn't mean this. She meant good. So you are a person guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So your soul will also be guided on the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We attain taqwa, we purify our hearts from doubts, shubuhat, and sinful inclinations. We achieve inner peace and spiritual contentment. At-taqwa. We achieve inner peace. Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innu al-qulub. We remain steadfast. You remain on the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as long as you strive hard. And lastly, we earn Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pleasure and love. So, ikhwati fillah, ahibbati, the most important thing in this Ramadan, why are we fasting? Why are we abstaining from halal? We abstain from halal in order to learn how to abstain from haram. So the more you abstain from food and water, which is halal to you and your wife who is halal, fi nahari Ramadan, it trains you after Ramadan to abstain from all evil and haram, to abstain from riba, to abstain from zina, to abstain from everything else, to be a good Muslim, to love for others what you love for your soul. This will shape you, and while it shapes you, it gives you inner peace, it gives you taqwa, it enlightens your way. And to this way, this path of Sirat al-Mustaqim, this light will grant you Jannah and goodness in dunya. Barakallahu feekum wa jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.